Now let's move it to Excel. Copilot in Excel enables anyone to analyze and visualize data like a data analyst. Remember, the average person uses less than 10% of what PowerPoint can do. Copilot unlocks the other 90%, and the same thing works for Excel. Copilot in Excel puts all the rich capabilities of Excel at your fingertips. It can analyze trends and create professional-looking data visualizations in seconds. And it also will reveal correlations, propose what-if scenarios, and suggest new formulas based on your questions. It generates models based on your questions that will help you explore your data without modifying it. You can now use Copilot to access advanced analytics and create powerful, professional visualizations, generate forecasts, and save time sorting through data with Python and Excel. You can also quickly add a formula column, highlight data with a prompt like make all cells red where the value is under 1000. Or you can filter and sort your data and ask questions to instantly uncover insights. Now let's look at what Copilot in Excel looks like. In this example, I'm going to use the online version of Copilot in Excel. Therefore, I will be opening a new workbook. And if we open up a new blank workbook in Excel, we will be notified about the existence of the Copilot Microsoft 365 solution as part of the Excel web app. So here we are. Copilot is running and we can see the button already here. Now with Copilot in Excel, there is one thing that we really need to take into account. And that is that data has to be in a table. Now, if you're new to Copilot in Excel, what you could do is try with an example table. Here we'll see that Copilot will then create a table for you to just see what is in there. Just to make sure the difference, let's say I am creating my own data set. For example, I'm gonna verify cities with revenues. In this case, I can just put in some values. For example, I could use Amsterdam with a value of 100,000. We can take New York as another city in my data set with a value of 200,000. And maybe a third one, for example, Sydney, with a value of 300,000. Here we can see some data. However, if you look at this data set, whenever I select any cell or any component of the data, we can see that we are not able to use Copilot in Excel at this point. We need to turn this into a table before we can actually work with Copilot in Excel. So one of the ways that we can speed this up is by selecting our data set. Click Insert and then select Table. Here we can then tell that this table has headers like city and revenue. And here we go. Now the data has changed to a table. And as you can see, whenever I select a cell within that table now, I can start asking questions about that table. For example, what is total revenue? And then we can ask about this. Copilot will then analyze your content. It will calculate the revenue, the total revenue, and it will give us answers about what that total revenue is going to be. You can see that we are still analyzing the data, and this is what we see as a result. We now get to see that the sum of revenue is projected to be 600,000, and that is indeed correct. Other things that we can do is now use the Copilot in Excel proposed prompts for this. For example, we can go and say, hey, what is the total revenue for city excluding New York, for example? Or what is the percentage of total revenue that comes from the city, New York? And just like this, we can start asking questions. And what we'll see in Copilot in Excel, if you use these kinds of prompts, it will also show you that some values are being put within quotes. And that is something that is important to realize in Copilot in Excel. Here we see that we have a nice new overview where we can see there's a revenue and the percentages that we have. And that is what we can then allow in there. maybe we can also go and say, hey, I want to add a column that represents the percentage of, and then maybe between of revenue, just like this. Let's start with this kind of prompts first. Now, what it will do, it will try to interpret our prompt, and it already was able to calculate everything, but now we want to just add a column. And here we can see that it now shows the example of what is going to be added. Just like that, we get to see the information. And as you can see, what it will do, it will create a new formula-based column. It's the revenue percentage, which will calculate the percentage of the total revenue that each city contributes. You can actually see here that it is going to show the formula that it's going to create. This is what the result is going to be. And we even have an option here to have it explain the formula to us. So here, for example, you can see that it calculates the percentage of total revenue for each city in the table by using the following formula. And it divides the value of revenue, and then that's what it does. So if we are happy with this suggestion, we can then choose to insert column. By hovering over the insert column button, we will actually see that that column is about to be placed on that side. So here we do insert column, and now we have inserted the column. Now, other things we can do is go and say, hey, maybe I want to highlight all revenue that is more than, let's say, 150,000. We can do these things as well. Let's just go in and check it out. What we are going to see now is that all revenue values over 150,000 will be using the highlighted format. Other things we can do is, for example, turn text into different colors. Here we can actually see the changes. So we have the values are now higher than 200,000 or than 150,000. If I am happy with this, I leave it. Now, if I change my content, let's say I am going to increase the revenue in Amsterdam to 400,000. Then obviously when we used formulas, you will basically see that the values will change. But also you will see that my instructions for highlighting components is also being changed. So for example, if New York drops to 100,000 again, the highlight part of that is going to be gone. So what it did, it actually created like a formatted, a condition-based formatting on the content of the table. And this is just a couple of examples that we could think of. Now, what we also need to realize when we work with Copilot in Excel is that in Copilot in Excel, the Copilot solution will only work for the data that we are selecting. So for example, if I am now selecting this table here, I could go in and try to go and ask something about the other table. We could go and say, hey, I want you to add a column, add a column that represents the percentage, again, percentage of budget per campaign owner, for example, per campaign owner. If I would do this, let me just copy this text out first, and then just run that prompt. Then it will now look at the table that I have selected. It's trying to understand what is going on. And now we'll see what Copilot will be showing us. As you see, Copilot in this example is trying to add the result into that table that is not based on the table that I have selected. So here, for example, this is my table about cities and revenue, and it now is going to try to add that column in here. You can actually see that it's going to try this very same thing here. However, it's the wrong column, or it's the wrong table actually. So what I can do is go select the other table, just like this, run the prompt again, and see what it now does. And now it's going to use the other data set as the component. Now in Copilot in Excel, it is always important to memorize or to realize two things. Copilot in Excel will only work with the table that you have selected. That is first. And also Copilot in Excel will only work if the data or the Excel sheet is being saved in a location either to be OneDrive for Business or SharePoint Online. For example, if I would be running like a normal Excel application, like let's say I'm gonna run Excel just like this. So here we have an Excel file. As you can see, if I try to use Copilot here, then the first setting or the first message that I'll get is that I have autosave turned off. Copilot will only work with files that have autosave switched on. Now, this is what we do. If we want to enable this, then we are going to have to select a location where we want this document to be saved. So, for example, if I do a Copilot demo like this, then click Save. Now my document is going to be uploaded to OneDrive. Autosave at this point has now been switched on. And because of that, we can now start using Copilot. Still, we need that data table here. We can go in and say, hey, I want to have that same kind of data table to be used. And now we can start doing things in that table and ask about things. For example, we can say show all total users targeted. In this case, show all users targeted lower than let's say 10,000. 10,000 in red. A prompt like this would go, and because I'm using the little quotes around my prompt, I will make it more clear to Excel that I am focusing on that specific column. And here we get to see the extra values here. And again, if I am going to change values here, let's say if this is going to be 9,000, my formatting still stands because that is what actually happens when we are going to use that conditional formatting feature in Excel. Now, another solution that is quite nice if we use Copilot in Excel is that we can use commands like edit or understand or create component. For example, we can start adding create. And here we, for example, have a couple of examples we can then run. So add a column that combines engaged users and campaign owners, for example. Or if I want to edit things like sort and filter, we can get a little bit of what it can do in order to do things like, hey, show items with a launch date or bold the first column. Let's say I want to bold the first column. We can now use the Copilot in Excel suggestions to allow us to get more out of Copilot or out of this Excel sheet. So here we have some of the options. Other things are understanding things. For example, we can go in and say, hey, what is the percentage? For example, let's say I want to run that kind of prompt here. It will then show us the results. It may want to go and also add the information, for example, for a column in here if you want to. And here what we see is that it now shows like a certain component here, that we have the different types of campaign types and the budgets compared to each other, which is quite a nice solution. If this is what I would like to add, I can just go in and say, hey, I want to add this to a new sheet like this. And it will then show in a new sheet the the table that it has been creating for us. That is one thing, for example, what we can do as well. We can also choose to visualize. So I can go in and say, just go and visualize this, and then see if it comes up with any suggestions on what we can do, for example, when it comes to creating charts or graphs about the data inside this database table. And here, what it will be able to do is also create a large visualization on what the data is in here. However, we do get some feedback. It says, hey, the user's request is ambiguous because it was not clear what specific data they wanted to visualize and what type of chart or graph. So here it provided the general answer, right? So that is something that we can do, but we can also go and say, hey, I want you to visualize in a chart, in a pie chart. I want to go and visualize in a pie chart the budget, percentage per, let's say, campaign name, just like that. And now let's see if Copilot in Excel is able to take those budget values, compare them with the campaign names, and create a pie chart out of that. Here we are. So this is the budget pie chart that we get. If I am happy with this, I can choose to also add this into a new sheet. It will never add things to your current sheet, but you can just go in and say, hey, let's have it in a new sheet here. This is the values that has been based on, and just like that, we could still go in and say, hey, let's just go in and copy what we have. So let's say I want to just copy this field here. Maybe just take the chart like that. And if we are happy with this, we can just go in and say, hey, let's just paste that over here, put it a little bit next to it. And now we have, without too much work, we actually have been able to visualize the entire document based on budgets versus campaign owners. And this is, in a short demo, what Copilot in Excel can do for you.